I've proposed a range of cuts on all kinds of things.
So if Congress sent you a bill extending tax cuts for any to any extent for those above $250,000, you'd veto it?
Well, I'm not going to get into vetoes right now. What I will tell you is that it is sensible for us to say that if you make more than $250,000 a year, going back to the tax rates that existed under Bill Clinton, are perfectly fair. For us to extend them would mean hundreds of billions of dollars of lost revenue at a time when everybody says we've got to make sure that we're dealing with our deficit.
Well, speaking of the deficit, in early 2011, some of your advisors think it's time, with the economy getting better, for a serious assault on the deficit. Should Americans think of your promise not to raise taxes for anyone under $200,000 as lasting for the entirety of your presidency? You would never accept tax increases for that group? Or is it something for the initial phase of your presidency, now you take account again of where the deficit is and make a different decision?
Here's my bottom line. Over the last decade, the wages and incomes of ordinary families have flatlined at best. So middle-class families have been seeing a bigger and bigger burden as healthcare costs go up, college costs go up, and the fact of the matter is that their wages and incomes failed to match up. So they needed some help. They needed some relief. That's why I wanted to cut taxes for them. Where you've seen huge growth of incomes and wages is at the top end. That's why I think letting the tax cuts phase out made some sense. Now, the thing I didn't anticipate up until a few months before my election was the fact that we were going to be in such a deep crisis that I'd be inheriting a $1.3 trillion deficit, $8 trillion worth of accumulated national debt that we're going to have to deal with. And that's why I've appointed this bipartisan fiscal commission to give me recommendations in terms of how do we deal with this in a serious way moving forward.
So in effect, that changes the terms of your promise in the campaign because of that worsening deficit situation?
I believe that we should be able to solve this problem without putting a burden on middle-class families.
By only taxing the rich?
I believe that we should be able to make sure that we don't burden middle-class families further. Having said that, I'm also going to wait for the Fiscal Commission to provide me what their best recommendations are, because the one thing that I think all of us agree on is that we are currently on an unsustainable path. And that means that we're going to have a tax system that works better for everybody and is simplified. That means that we've got to get control of entitlement reform. And by the way, health care reform went a long way towards doing that. But we're also going to have to look at Social Security and the other aspects of entitlements. It means that we're going to have to cut out waste in the system. But at a certain point, what we've got to do is match up money going out and money coming in. And right now we've got a huge structural gap that I inherited and that the recession made worse. We're going to have to solve that, and that means that I don't want to prejudge what this commission's going to come up with. I want to take a look and see what they propose.